Hey guys, Sean here, and have you ever wondered why Thomas and Friends has such weird place names? Names like these.
Farquhar, Maithwaite, Arsdale End, Brendam Docks.
Tidmouth, Knapford, Crosby, Wellsworth, Maron, Cronk.
Dryaw Airfield, Callan Station.
Marlsborough Harbour up to Harwich.
Well, today I'm going to explain the origins of a bunch of place names on the island of Sodor. Now, here's the backstory. The Reverend Wilbert Awdry created an entire fictional history for the island that his stories take place on, including a language for Sodor that's similar to Manx Gaelic, the dialect that's spoken on the Isle of Man that Sodor's right next to. And because it's off the coast of England, the place names have origins in British and Gaelic history. And Awdry actually wrote an entire fictional history book called The Island of Sodor, Its People, History, and Railways, and a lot of these descriptions come from there. So let's get started. First, let's start off with the word Sodor. Where does the word Sodor come from? And the word Sodor comes from the Diocese of Sodor and Man, and a diocese is a church district that's under the jurisdiction of a bishop, which occupies the Isle of Man and the surrounding islets. Now here's a little history lesson. 900 years ago, the Isle of Man was part of a kingdom with the islands off the coast of Scotland when it was controlled by Norway. And the actual word Sodor comes from the Norse word for southern island called Sudriar or Suthriar, which is also where Sudrian came from, the name of the language. So that's it. The word Sodor means southern island. So let's start with the station names on the main line. First, Tidmouth. It's called Tidmouth because the word for the end of a river is called a mouth, and the river that ends at the town is called Tid, which means tender or soft. So the town means it's at the mouth of the river Tid. Knapford is a compound word. The word knap means the crest of a hill, and ford means the crossing of a river, which is where we get town names like Hartford and Bridgeford and Waterford. Crosby is a shortened version of Crosbeer, which is Cedric for cross farm, cross as in crucifix. Wellsworth, as you can guess, it's named after a well that was worth something to someone. Maron comes from Ma Ronan, which is Cedric for Saint Ronan, who was a 6th century missionary. Cronk is a shortened version of Cronk Knee Braid, which is Cedric for the hill in the valley. And Kildane is a shortened version of Kiel y Dagan, which is Cedric for the Church of the Devil. Croven's Gate is named after Godred Crovan, who was a real-life Norse Gaelic king who was also the king of Sodor for a while. And Vicarstown, obviously, it means the town of a vicar. Now let's go on to the branch lines. First, Thomas's branch line. Dryaw comes from taking the two syllables of Awdry and flipping them around. Dryaw, Awdry. The same thing goes with Torrey-rec, which takes the words rectory and flips it around. Torrey-rec, rectory. And a rectory means the residence of a leader of a parish or church district. Elsbridge refers to a bridge that's over the river Els, and the word Els probably comes from the plural of the letter L, as far as I can research. Maithwaite Station only exists in the TV series, probably because it's a misspelling of Marthwaite, which is a town on the Arsdale Railway, because the crew for Season 1 probably misread the map and put Toby's line in place of the Arsdale Railway. And for the word Marthwaite, the word Mar means sea, and a thwaite means a clear cut of a forest. Hackenbeck comes from a name that means humanitarian. Farquhar comes from the phrase far away quarry. Ulfstead comes from Ulf, which is a Norse name, and stead, which means a person's place. Peel Godred is Cedric for Godred's Fort, named after Godred Crovan. Abbey is a word that means a monastery. Kirk Ronan, the word Kirk means church, so it's St. Ronan's Church. Rolf's Castle is named after a guy named Rolwer, or Rolf, who was the Bishop of Sodor and Man between 1070 and 1079 and built himself a fortified residence here. Normanby is probably derived from Normandy, which is the region in France. For Ballyhoo, the word Bala means farm, and Hoo in Middle English refers to a strip of land or a peninsula. And it's also next to a river called the River Hoo. Sudbury is a name that originated in Lincolnshire in the 1500s that means farmstead. Brendam probably comes from the name of Brendan. As you can see right here, it says St. Brendan's Church. Callan Station was made for the TV series, and the station was based on Arlesburg West, but in the railway series there's a river called Callan which goes through Knapford, and the word Callan means battle. Haltra, the word Hall comes from King Harold, who is one of Sodor's kings, and a tra means a low beach. Arlesburg, or Arlesborough, the word bra means a municipal corporation, and Arl is a name that I'm not sure of the definition of. And Farquhar Road gets its name because it's next to a road that leads to Farquhar. Arlesdale, the word dale means a wide valley. For Harwick, in the Island of Sodor book, there's actually a whole paragraph talking about the origin of the name, so I'm just going to quote it. The derivation of this place name is obscure. Wick means an inlet or a creek, but the prefix causes difficulty. Some authorities hold that Har comes from a mispronunciation, originally Norse, of the river's name, Oyer, I don't know what that means. Others maintain it's a corruption of Harold's Wick. We ourselves are among them, for the probability is that King Harold the Black frequently used it on journeys between the islands. Now for the other town names. Callendale means battle in a valley. Callan means battle and Dale means valley. Ballasween, the word sween or swain means peasant, so it means the farm of a peasant. Killaban and Kellaby are named after Saint Aban, who was another 6th century missionary. Balladrin, the word drin is an Old English word that means a crowd, and also sounds similar to Baldrin, which is a town on the Isle of Man. Cabalnu, I have no clue. The word cabal means a secret clique or a faction, and new is an Old English way of spelling now, but I have no idea why Audrey called it that. Ballad whale, I'm not sure, but it's probably a compound word of ballad, which is a narrative song, and wail, which means to cry out. Now let's go on to the other railways. Crosny Kieran is Cedric for the Ford of the Mountain Ash. Glennock is a corruption of Glynock, which is Cedric for Blue Hill. Reneus means divided waterfall, and Scarlowy means lake in the woods. And for the Mid-Sodor Railway, Casny Hawin probably means curl of the river. Kirklees, the word kirk means church, and lees is a plural of the Old English word for meadow. Ulfstead Road, as you can guess, it's called that because it's next to a road that leads to Ulfstead. Vales Bridge, the word vale is derived from valley, and it also means that there's a bridge nearby. Balamadi means black farm. King Ori's Bridge, the word Ori means golden, and King Ori is another name for King Godred MacHarold, who was the king of Sodor between 979 and 989. And also Harold the Black, who Harwick is named after, is Godred Crovin's father and Godred MacHarold's son. Are you keeping track? Now for the Culdifell Railway. Kirk Mashan is named after Saint Mashan, who was the patron saint of Sodor. Culdifell means the mountain of the companion of God. Scarlowy Road, obviously it gets its name because it's a road that leads... Scarlowy Road, just like Farquhar Road and Ulstead Road, means it's next to a road that leads to Scarlowy. Shiloh means place of the willow. And for the other physical locations around the Culdifell, Palney Crink means the pool on the hillside, and Crink is a variation of Cronk. The Kielenbeck means the noisy stream, and Bainfoss means a waterfall. That also means White Falls. Now for the least well-known railway on the island of Sodor, the Cronk and Harwick Railway, that starts at Harwick. For the town of Craigweir, Craig is a Manx word that means rock or stone, and weir is derived from wire. In this town, Drogan y Claygan, Drogan comes from an Old Irish word for evil, and Claygan comes from an Old Irish word for stone, so Drogan y Claygan probably means the stone of evil. Now for the other physical locations, let's start with the Anofa Quarry. The word Anofa actually has an interesting backstory. It comes from a set of Pico wagons that Audrey bought that says BQC, British Quarry Company, Granofast, and he modified the BQC into FQC for Farquhar Quarry Company, tongue twister, and cut off the first two and last two letters of Granofast, creating Anofa. And for mountains, Gob-e-Dagan means mouth of the devil. You know how British people say shut your gob instead of shut your mouth. Dubbin Moor means big pond. It's such an original name. Corlowy comes from the Norse name Corey, and Lowy means lake, as in Scarlowy. Lowy Mashan means Saint Mashan's lake. Chibir Ulf. Chibir is a word that means a holy well, and Ulf is because it's next to Ulfstead. Clay Oyer. The word clay means stone, and Oyer, I still have no idea what Oyer actually means. Shane Duini is Cedric for the old man, and Shen Ven is Cedric for the old woman. And Ward Fell, the word ward means guard or protector, and fell means mountain. Now for the rivers. In Cedric, the word Hawin means river, so Hawin Ab gets its name from Abbey, which it runs by. Hawin Dory, the word Dory is a surname that comes from a river called Dore in the UK that means the waters. Hawin Russa is the name of a civil parish in Ireland. I have no idea what Hawin Oyer means. Ben Glass means green mountain. I don't know why Green Mountain is the name of a river, but whatever. Ray is a name that means gray. Mora, in the Island of Sodor book, means sacred river. And there's also the River Hu, the River Callan, the River Tid, and the River Arl. So I think that is everything. Everything that's not entirely obvious to somebody who has a basic understanding of the English language. So I hope you like this discussion, and I hope you learn some things about like English history and language and stuff. And I'll leave a link to a PDF version of the Island of Sodor book in the description, and I hope you go and read it. It's like really in-depth. It's almost as in-depth as like Middle-earth or Westeros, and basically all of it only exists in this book. You won't find most of it in the TV series or the Railway series. So I'm Sean, and I'll see you later.